Oh, hey. Sorry I haven't been around lately, but something's just been really bothering me. You see, August 3rd is my birthday, and this year I turned 30. And maybe that doesn't seem like such a big deal, but I don't know, there's just something really depressing about, you know, the moment you realize how old you've become. And I don't know.
Hey man, what's wrong?
Gee Rex, I'm just bummed about turning 30. I think I'm having some kind of early midlife crisis or something.
Oh, you can't let something like that get you down. Hey, at least you have your health, right?
What do you know? You're not even real.
Hey, that doesn't mean I don't have feelings.
Sorry, I guess I'm just really upset.
Well, why don't you review something? You always love reviewing things. Review something you loved when you were a kid.
Oh, come on. You've seen some of the stuff I reviewed from my childhood. G.I. Joe the movie, Hammerman, The Never-Ending Story, GoBots. Not everything holds up. Jeez. Just can't believe how bad things have gotten.
Well then review something you loved as a kid, but is still great. But not just that. You need something that everybody can get behind. You need a symbol.
Something that represents the best of our pop culture.
Something watchable.
And funny.
And awesome.
Ghostbusters was one of the very first movies I remember seeing, and even to this day is considered to be one of the best comedies ever made, with a premise so crazy that it just couldn't fail. It's funny, witty, full of action, dramatic, scary, and is one of the most quotable movies ever.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Of course it was a big hit, and naturally they tried to cash in on it with the animated series The Real Ghostbusters. And man, did I love this show. Weekly adventures with the Ghostbusters? Sign me up. So we got to see the return of Peter, Ray, Winston, and Egon, the Ghostbusters. I don't think I need to explain these guys to anybody. Rejoining them is their faithful secretary Janine, who even got to join in on the action a few times. And of course Slimer, the little green ghost that slimed Peter in the movie. After the battle with Gozer and all the ghosts escaped, he sorta came back to the firehouse, and eventually he was accepted as part of the team. Well, that's our main cast. For the most part, they're equivalent to their movie counterparts, aside from a few changes. Obviously, the looks are different, but they added a few personality quirks. For example, they made Ray into a man-child that plays with toys.
Wow! It's Dopey Dog! I used to have one of these.
That's just shameful. Right, Stay Puft? Speaking of which, throughout the series we see a few familiar faces, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, who's apparently a good guy now.
The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Are you creeps nuts? Don't you remember what he did to this city the last time?
Yeah, and he's all better now, we think.
The Ghostbusters call on him to fight off some big or out-of-control entities, Godzilla style. Fuck yeah! But what I don't get is how did he end up in the containment unit? Didn't he get disintegrated in the movie and then splattered all over New York? Well, they did show him getting trapped in the intro. So apparently Gozer the Destructor inexplicably comes back from being exploded, only to be captured by the Ghostbusters, where they put him in the containment unit, and somehow along the way he has a change of heart. I guess he learned his lesson. Also, he talks in one episode. I don't like that he talks.
Slimer! I missed you. Out? Me?
Yeah, you!
Okay, I like to go out.
In the seasons that followed Ghostbusters 2, Louis Tully becomes a regular cast member. And he's just kinda there. He does get to do some busting with Janine, but honestly I don't remember him doing much else. Besides the payroll.
Wait, guys, these checks need signing.
The biggest surprise was seeing old Dickless himself, Walter Peck, come back for one episode. He's held a grudge against the Ghostbusters for getting him fired and is out for some payback, but it goes about as well as you'd expect. Then there were some new characters like the Junior Ghostbusters. 3 kids that we never get an introduction for who somehow become Junior Ghostbusters.
We're the Junior Ghostbusters, and we're not afraid of no ghost.
I really don't know why they're there. What, were there not enough kids liking the Ghostbusters or something? So they had to think up some characters that they can relate to? Well, to be fair, they did help out a bit, but we're only in like 2 episodes. They could have at least given us some backstory. But anyway, this show had some great voice acting talent behind it. However, many of them were changed out throughout the series. For example, Janine was originally voiced by Laura Summer.
It's no fair. I'm always stuck at this boring desk while you guys get all the action. I want to go this time.
But in Season 3, she was replaced by Katsusi. Now don't get me wrong, I like Katsusi, but she sounds too cute.
The song is over. History. Adios. Oh. You wild and crazy ghost, you.
But Janine isn't like that. She's a New York secretary. She needs to be a bit more sassy.
Okay, now I'm mad. Go on, take your best shot.
Like that. But what's hilarious is that there's an episode where they actually try to explain her sudden change. So apparently she has a fairy godmother who, spoiler alert, turns out to be evil, that grants her wishes to change her appearance. It's not a particularly bad episode, but it just kills me that they try to justify the change within the context of the show, unlike the other recastings. Peter started out voiced by the late great Lorenzo Music, most noted for voicing Garfield. But apparently Bill Murray himself didn't like his character sounding like Garfield, so he was replaced with Dave Coulier. Now Dave could have made a decent Peter, but they didn't just change the voice. They also changed his character. Lorenzo may have sounded a little too much like Garfield, but he still captured the same sarcastic smartass that Peter was in the movie.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Dishes.
Dishes who?
Dishes the Ghostbusters. Come on out.
Ghostbusters!
Dave, on the other hand...
Oh, he's fine. Nothing ever bothers Egon. Right, Egon?
Right. Absolutely.
Come on, let's go home. It's been a long day.
Ugh, it just sounds so forced. The voice is okay, but the rest just feels wrong. Winston's voice actor changed as well. In the later seasons, he was voiced by Buster Jones, but his original voice actor was, get this, Arsenio Hall.
Of course. What else? Nothing personal, Mr. Einstein, but I got a split. Just wish I knew what Egon had figured out.
No need to make a comparison because I think they both did a good job. And at least the character stayed the same. But originally, Ernie Hudson himself was supposed to voice Winston. Now that would have been pretty cool. There were 2 voice actors that stayed on for the entire series. There was Maurice LaManche, who voiced Egon and did a pretty good job as a stand-in for Harold Ramis.
These ghosts are being brought through by artificial means, and their ectomolecular introstructure is unstable. They could start breaking up at any moment.
Good. Saves us the trouble. Let's go home.
Unfortunately, each new fragment will become a complete ghost. Then the cycle will repeat.
And eventually the world will be full of ghosts?
In about 15 hours, yes.
And our old pal Frank Welker, who voiced both Ray and Slimer.
Of course! Halloween began as the Feast of Samhain. Samhain was supposed to be a creature of night, who no one could stop. Oh boy.
Good thing they got Frank on board. There's a lot of ghosts and monsters in the show, and when you need growling and random creature sounds, he's your man.
Ghostbusters will return after these messages. We now return to the real Ghostbusters.
Now, this series lasted for a staggering 7 seasons, so going into great detail about it will take forever. So I'm just going to bring up a couple of episodes and moments that I personally thought stood out. For the most part, every episode was a new job. A ghost of the day, if you will, with few recurring villains. Pretty much the only two were Sam Hain, the spirit of Halloween, and the Boogeyman. I won't go into detail about Sam Hain because fellow cartoon reviewer CR already covered him in one of his videos, and he also did a video about Janine. I recommend checking them out. Personally, I never cared much for Sam Hain anyway. The Boogeyman, however...
Huh? Megan!
That wasn't nice. Not nice at all.
Just look at him. That face, those hooves, the Frank Welker voice. He is what every kid fears. And Egon.
Egon, the boogeyman said he remembered you. Is there anything you'd like to tell us?
When I was a child, the boogeyman would come out of my closet. He's the reason I started investigating the supernatural. I wanted to find a way to stop him.
But his first episode illustrates what I think truly makes the Ghostbusters great, especially with kids. You got this otherworldly horror coming at you, and then these guys show up and fight back.
Yeah! Go get him, Ghostbusters! Bust the boogeyman! Yeah!
Sometimes they'd run into a historical figure. There was an episode where they had a gunfight with Wyatt Earp at Tombstone. Then there was the time when they met Ebenezer Scrooge and... Wait, wasn't this a fictional story?
That's impossible. How could we help Scrooge? Unless we went back in time. Oh, boy. That strange disturbance we encountered when we went over the hill. It must have been a time slip, a door to the past.
Oh, okay, I guess not in this universe. Admittedly, this episode is pretty funny. The Ghostbusters accidentally captured the 3 spirits, and after returning to their own time, they find that everyone's become assholes, like Scrooge.
Bah humbug! Bah humbug! Bah humbug you! Oh, bah humbug you! Hey, pinhead, bah humbug! Bah humbug! Okay, I'll give you Christmas cookies all over here.
By far the best part was while Egon tries to get the spirits out of the containment unit, the others have to go back and visit Scrooge and pose as the spirits.
Here, what do you see now?
Why, it's the school I attended. Why, I grew up there. I was a boy there. Yes, I remember that schoolroom all too well.
Where the hell did they get a Viewmaster disc that just happens to have stuff from Scrooge's childhood on it? In another episode, they run into the spirits of Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson, and James Moriarty. Well, they're supposed to be fictional too, but I guess after that last episode, they're historical figures as well?
I can only offer a theory. Belief made manifest.
Say what?
Even though there was never a real Sherlock Holmes, millions of fans believe in him.
Right. The London Post Office gets thousands of letters every year addressed to Sherlock Holmes.
Precisely. And it appears this collective belief has somehow given Holmes and Watson a quasi-reality.
Oh, okay. So Sherlock Holmes is fictional, but came into existence because people believed in him hard enough, but Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol? That's just historical fact. What the hell kind of sense does that make? They even explained this ridiculous anomaly in another episode. A cartoonist, who's pretty much an analog for Walt Disney, believed in his creation so much that it created a whole cartoon world that he got trapped in. Well, that's just dumb. I mean, you can't just manifest things because you believe in them hard enough and... I want a Voltron lion. Aww. One of the more famous episodes is the H.P. Lovecraft episode. Fans of Lovecraft should check this one out because it's full of references and creepy monsters. A manhole cover! Our one weakness! And the episode ends with the Ghostbusters fighting Cthulhu. Yes, that Cthulhu. And they beat him. But they don't just beat him, they blow him the fuck up!
More power! If he breaks free before the lightning strikes!
Wow! I think the Fatagan cult just collectively shit their robes. This wouldn't be the last time the Ghostbusters fight horrors from beyond. In a later episode, they come across another cult trying to resurrect an old one. Why do cults always try to resurrect monsters? It never goes well. Ever. In this episode, another ancient horror called Mikra awakens after several hundred years. It's this giant one-eyed jellyfish thing that's headed for New York and turns all land it touches into desert. It also eats ghosts to gain power, so every ghost in the area flock to the firehouse so they can be put in the containment unit because it's the safest place to be.
Next! Move forward to an empty trap, please!
But the Ghostbusters try to get rid of this thing by leading it away using the ghosts that came to them for help. Huh. You know, this brings up an interesting question. Is what the Ghostbusters doing right? I mean, those ghosts came to them for help, and they just fed them to that thing. The Ghostbusters seem to treat them like they're pests most of the time, like rats or roaches. Granted, many of them cause trouble and are a legitimate hazard, but other than scaring people, some of them seem pretty harmless. In one episode, they try to bust this one ghost at a circus, but it turns out he was just part of the sideshow.
Come on, lady, let us bust him. He's terminally gross.
Absolutely not! Drool is perfectly harmless. Don't you think all this running around busting ghosts has made you guys just a little trigger happy?
You know, she's kind of right. I do have to wonder, in a world where ghosts are so prominent, are there activist groups that fight for the rights of ghosts? Something along the lines of PETA, but less copyright infringing? Like, Department for the Ethical Appropriation of the Deceased? Yeah, that'd look good on a t-shirt. You'd think they'd realize by now that not all ghosts are harmful. How would they like it if they were in that position? In fact, there was an episode titled Flipside where they accidentally fall into an alternate ghost world where they meet, get this, the People Busters, who, just like the Ghostbusters, are considered heroes in their world.
Hey, we're the good guys!
I am many things, Kal-El, but here I am God.
Well, I did find one episode where they came across the ghost of a man, but decided to not bust him when they realized that he was just lost and confused.
He really doesn't know that he's...
Do you think he could actually sue us?
Wake up, Horace. I knew I shouldn't have eaten that midnight snack. Rabbit always gives me the strangest dreams. I know. I'll pinch myself. That'll wake me. Oh, no.
That's right, mister. You're a ghost.
Wow. That's, like, really sad. Well, they say that ghosts can't cross over if they have unfinished business.
I know you. You're my niece, Olivia. I wasn't looking for a thing. I was looking for you. I just wanted to tell you that I love you. One last time.
I gotta say, I'm impressed. I didn't expect to see an episode with such a great premise. Another great episode was titled You Can't Take It With You. It was about this crazy old rich guy that builds a machine that can transport his possessions to the other side so that they'll be there when he passes.
I didn't work 80 years to become rich just to leave it all to charity.
But it wasn't just his wealth he wanted. He was going to take everything with him, including his servants.
Oh, thank you for saving us. Monsieur Tummel was going to put us in that terrible machine.
He was sending his fortune into the ghost world, and he was gonna send us too.
Very Egyptian.
Yeah, it makes sense in a sick way. Why be rich if you haven't got a few poor people to push around, huh?
That is fucked up. But of course, it doesn't quite work out. After all, the episode is titled You Can't Take It With You.
Doc!
Hummel's over there, but his money's over here. Any thoughts, Egon?
Molecular instability, I guess. His building displaced the loot that he'd already sent.
Which means he's over there alone, with his empty building.
Well, I guess it proves two old sayings.
You can't take it with you. And what's the other one?
Easy come, easy go.
Now, not every episode was amazing. There were some weird ones, like the one with the were-chicken. Yes, were-chicken. Then there was the one where they go into space. And I mean just go into space. Like they're just taking the bus. But they meet a familiar-looking group of space explorers.
Do these people look familiar to you?
I was just about to ask you that.
Pardon me, Captain, but have we met before?
Don't be ridiculous, Winston. These people are astronauts, space explorers. They've been out exploring strange new worlds, seeking out new life and new civilizations.
We're losing energy rapidly. I didn't know if my poor engine can stand the strain.
How long are you going to be up here?
We are on 5-year mission.
Fascinating.
You're right. He does remind me of a certain pointy-eared science officer.
Get it? It's Star Trek. Though I wonder why they made the Chekhov guy captain.
I will handle this. I am Captain.
Oh, sorry, I mean Kipton. Now, in this episode, there's a flashback that shows what happens immediately after the first movie. The uniforms the Ghostbusters were wearing were exposed to too much psychokinetic energy in the battle with Gozer, so they need to be disposed of, which is why they started wearing those new colored uniforms. However, they forget to do that, and the uniforms take on a life of their own. Man, that's creepy. Now, after hearing about that episode, you're probably wondering, is this show in fact canon with the movie? Well, the answer is... sort of. Which brings me to one of my favorite episodes, Take 2, where the Ghostbusters go to Hollywood to be consultants on a Ghostbusters movie. But not just a Ghostbusters movie, the Ghostbusters movie.
Admit it, Redford was dying to play me, right?
Not exactly. Here's the cast list.
Murray, Aykroyd, and Ramis? What's that, a law firm?
And that's the script. We'd love your advice as long as we don't have to change anything. Now, if you'll follow Bob, he'll show you the rest of the studio.
How's it look?
Well, it's in English.
Is that good or bad?
And the episode ends with the Ghostbusters attending the premiere of the Ghostbusters movie. How meta is this?
Now I'm going to turn over the next card, and I want you to tell me what it is.
You know, he doesn't look a thing like me.
You know what? Actually, you want meta? Check this out.
You know, Ray, I was thinking, if we're in a cartoon, then where's the audience? guess they're over there. Take a look. Hello? Hey, anybody there?
Warning. Cartoon show is becoming self-aware. Suggested course of action. Wrap-up review.
Yeah, I guess this is a good place to stop with this show. Although there are other Ghostbusters shows, the later seasons were renamed Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. These episodes had shorts that were pretty much just the adventures of Slimer. Also, the animation and character design changed. It looks awful. I remember seeing this and wondered what happened to the Ghostbusters. Well, they're there, but they're usually out on a job or something. What a cop-out. Then there was Extreme Ghostbusters. This is one of those things where you take a first glance at it and instantly hate it. But it's actually a decent show. It had a diverse cast, but I wonder why they're trying to appeal to so many different people. Doesn't everybody love the Ghostbusters? And of course, there was that other Ghostbusters series made by Filmation. I'm sure most people know the story by now, but if you don't, here's the short version. Filmation had the name first, but it was licensed out to Columbia for the Ghostbusters movie. Now let's forget all of that for a second. You see, both of these cartoons aired about the same time, and this was the early 80s, long before the internet or any kind of easy-to-access information. But you know how confusing this was for a kid? Both shows titled Ghostbusters, they're both comedies, they both have similar premises, they both take place in New York, and I had both sets of toys. I didn't know what was going on. For all I knew, they could have been rival businesses. But I guess in a way they kind of were. But I think we can all agree the real Ghostbusters was the superior show, despite a lot of inconsistencies and a few stupid moments in later seasons.
And so, in conclusion, I have spent 20 years of my life proving my greatest paranormal theory, that the Titanic did not sink when it struck an iceberg. It did not strike an iceberg. It struck Elvis Presley.
Comrade Vladimir, the Titanic sank in 1912. Elvis Presley was not born until 1935.
However, the rest of it is great, and some of it's even better than I remember. Also, it got a few good laughs out of me.
Not to pry, but what exactly is that thing you two've been working on?
A spectrum differentializer.
A toaster.
Huh?
It's one of the few shows based off a movie that's actually good, and made by Deke, if you can believe it. Yeah, the same company that brought us Hammerman and Dino Saucers. I guess we know where all their effort went. By the way, I didn't intend for this little Deke-a-thon we had. It just kind of happened. If you want to check it out, it's available on DVD. You can get them individually, or you can get the whole thing in a nice box set like I did. It's got every episode, a nice episode guidebook with little trivia facts, a disc with tons of bonus material, and a nicely detailed package. There's even diagrams of the ghost-busting equipment inside the DVD cases. This set can be pricey, but it's well worth the money. The real Ghostbusters, and even Ghostbusters in general, is one of those rare things that seems to withstand the test of time, and is still fun to watch. Proof that no matter how old you get, some things will always be great. So you feeling better? Actually, yes. Yes, I am. Well, I hope you stay in that good mood, because next time, I'm picking the review. Oh boy, I have a bad feeling about this. Oh, don't worry, kid. You're gonna love the video I got in mind. Somehow I doubt that, Rex. Somehow I doubt that.
Well, what happened?
They changed channels.